Hello friends, welcome to the lecture of functional analysis. In the last lecture we have completed the point of projection and we have seen the important theorems which are dependent on the projections. Rather one can say that these are the important characteristics of the projection. Now in today's lecture we are going for the new point conjugate operator. Let me share my screen. Okay, so this is a new type of operator called as conjugate operator, and it was defined in a very simple manner. First we will try to write the definition, and after writing the definition we will try to understand how this operator is going to work. Okay, let us write the definition of a conjugate operator. Just listen me very carefully. Okay, therefore let us start the definition of a conjugate operator. Let n be a normed linear space, n be a normed linear space, and T be a continuous linear transformation, or operator one can say transformation of n into itself, n into itself, that is n to n. The conjugate of T, the conjugate of T denoted by T star, conjugate of T denoted by T star on n star into n star, n star into n star is defined as follows, is defined as follows. Okay, let us see the definition is T star operated on F, whole thing is operated on a vector X, is defined as F of T of X for all F in n star and the vector X in n. Okay, this is a definition. Therefore, from the definition it is very clear that T is a mapping given from n to n. T star is a mapping given from n star to n star, and this T star is called or is defined as a conjugate operator if it satisfies this definition. Now we'll try to understand how the definition is going to work, because there is much of confusion. T star of F operated on X, operated as F of T of X. Okay, for this let me just draw some small sketches in order to understand. Right. Therefore, one thing is now becoming very clear. T is a mapping from n to n. T star is a mapping from n star to n star. And here we should have a condition. This is continuous linear. This is continuous linear. Now, as we look at the domain of the mapping T, this is a normed linear space, n to n. Therefore, the nature of element in this normed linear spaces are vectors. Okay, no doubt in the domains, codomain also these are the vectors. But if we look at the domain and codomain of T star, this is n star to n star, and we know very clearly that the nature of element in this domain and codomain are functionals. Okay, that is, whenever a mapping T star is operated on a functional, the resultant should be a functional in n star. Therefore, we have to define a mapping in such a way that T star defined on a functional results into a functional. Okay, what I'm saying, T star defined on a functional results into a functional itself. Right. Therefore, just have a look. Here one can say that T is a mapping belonging to B of n, continuous linear transformation. That of T star is going to be a member of B of n star, because later we are going to prove that this T star is again continuous and linear also. Therefore, T belongs to B of n, T star will belongs to B of n. Now let me draw a triangular sketch. Let this be my non-linear space n to n. Okay, and we know from n to n the mapping T is working. Mapping T is working. Okay, now here in the definition itself we have taken F to be a member of a n star, a functional F to be a member of n star. Whenever I'm saying F is a member of n star, what does it mean? F Here I'll write f is a scalar valued continuous linear transformation from n to k, because n star is a conjugate space, right? Therefore, this is a continuous linear and scalar valued. F is having these three properties. Belongs to n star means it is in the conjugate space, means it is continuous, linear, and no doubt it is scalar valued. Therefore, what I will mark? I will mark the third space to be some field k. It may be real field, it may be a complex field. Now, from this n to k, we are taking a functional, say small f. F belongs to n star, we are saying. Na? Therefore, f is a functional working from n to k. Now, we want to define a mapping T star from n star to n star. Therefore, what should be my resultant? Here, if I take a function f here, say, the resultant image T star of f, where should this element go? This element should be a member of n star. If it is a member of n star, therefore, this is also scalar valued continuous linear transformation, right? Here I just want to, T star is a mapping defined from n star to n star. Therefore, if I take arbitrary functional in n star, the T star image T star of f will be a member of n star. And if it is a member of n star, T star of f must be defined from n to k, having the property this is scalar valued, continuous, and linear. Scalar valued, continuous, and linear. Therefore, now we want the resultant to be a member of n to k, member of n star. Therefore, here, what is the element in k? What kind of element this k is going to possess? If I start with x in n, the resultant element is t of x in n. And if we operate a mapping f on t of x, the image here it will be f of t of x. The image will be f of t of x, and we know f of t of f is nothing but f composition t operated on x. Therefore, here I can say this whatever we can say journey from n to n, n to k, I can write in short by n to k and is operated by f dot t, a composition. Okay, and here we are going to call this as t star of f. And no doubt, as it is from n to k, this will be a scalar valued function, and no doubt it is going to be continuous and linear, because here both the mappings t and f are continuous and linear. That's why the mapping n to k, the mapping n to k is surely a member of n star, and here this way it is f dot t. Therefore, if I come directly, this should be f dot t. Therefore, f dot t operated on x is f dot t operated on a star, and this is what we are defining as t star of f. Therefore, let us come to understand the definition. T star of f is an element of n star, which we have just now defined as f dot t in n star. Okay, now if as these are the mappings in n star, this mapping should be defined on a vector. Therefore, here t star of f is an element of n star. This should be defined on a vector x, and no doubt t star of f we have as f dot t operated on x, and we know f dot t operated on x can be written as f of t of x. That's why the mapping conjugate is defined as t star of f is equal to f of t of x. Okay, f of t of x. If once you understand this sketch, then there is no problem. Okay, first t is a mapping from n to n. We are taking one functional in n star, say f. Therefore, this should be a mapping from n to k. Therefore, if we start with x in n, the t image will be here, and the element in n we have taken t of x, then its f image will be f of t of x, and no doubt is a member of k. Therefore, if I define another functional from n to k, it will be a composition of f and t. Therefore, either you come with this way or directly this way, you will get the same image, same vector f of t, same scalar f of t of x, that is f dot t, and that's why we have defined t star of f as f dot t. Okay. Now, later in the next theorem, we are going to prove that this conjugate operator is possessing many properties. In the first theorem, or rather we will combine the theorems and we will split it, and we are going to prove that this conjugate T star is continuous linear transformation on N star. Then a mapping, if I take from T, which take T to T star, this mapping is isometric isomorphism, which reverses the product, preserves the identity transformation, and many more. Okay, if you have understood the definition clearly, let me go to the properties. Okay, therefore whenever we are operating T star, a conjugate operator, the condition is T star, first it should be operated on a functional, then combined it will be a functional, and that functional is operated on a vector X. Okay, 3 stages to work. T star operated on a functional, combined it becomes a functional which will be operated on a vector. Okay, this is what the definition tells us. Now let us come to the property by the theorem. Okay, therefore let us go to the theorem. Says that if T is continuous linear transformation on a normed linear space N to itself, then prove that. Okay, what to prove? Or before prove that I'll write, then T star defined by, how T star is defined? T star is a mapping from N star to N star. It is defined by T star operated on F dot T. F dot T, that is T star F operated on X, is defined as F of T of X for all F in N star and X in N. Okay, it's clear now. T is a continuous linear transformation. T star is defined by. Then prove that. Point number 1. T star is continuous linear transformation on N star. This is the first property to prove. Second property to prove is the mapping, conjugate mapping one can say, which take T to T star given by, say phi from B of N to B of N star. Now why I am writing B of N star? Because in the first step it was very clear that it is a continuous linear transformation. Therefore here T star will be a member of B of N star. Right? Therefore this T is a member of B of N, that we already know. Therefore this is a mapping defined from B of N to B of N star such that phi of T is equal to T star. Phi of T is equals to T star for all T in B of N. That is, for every continuous linear transformation there is a conjugate operator, and we want to prove that this is a isometric isomorphism. This is isometric isomorphism of B of N into B of N star. This is the second point. Third property to prove is this T star reverses the product. T star reverses the product. Fourth to prove, T star preserves identity transformation. T star preserves identity transformation. Now let us start the proof one by one. In the first step, we are going to prove that T star is continuous linear transformation. I hope there is no problem in the definition of conjugate operator, right? Therefore, let us start with step number 1. What to prove in the step number 1? T star is continuous linear transformation transformation on n star. Transformation on n star. Okay, we will prove linearity first. Therefore, I will mark point number 1 to prove that T star is linear. Linearity is easy to prove always. Right? Therefore, let us start with linearity. How should I prove the mapping T star is linear? We should map T star on a linear combination of the functionals, and we will prove that this T star preserves the operation. Therefore, here I will start with any two arbitrary functionals f and g in n stars. Alpha, beta be any scalars. Be scalars or belongs to K1 can, right? Then consider, what should I consider? T star operated on the linear combination of functionals alpha f plus beta g. But we cannot operate like this because this combination itself is a functional. Therefore, let us operate this on a vector x, right? On a vector. Here shall I write x for x in n? For x in n. So what the definition says? Here shall I write the definition? T star operated on f operated on x is defined as f of t of x, right? Therefore, here it is T star operated on alpha f plus beta g operated on x. According to definition, this is alpha f plus beta g operated on t of x. Now let us use the pointwise operation for the addition of two mappings. Therefore, this is alpha f operated on t of x plus beta g operated on t of x. Okay, which concept we have used? S and t are the two mappings operated on x is defined as s of x plus t of x. Pointwise operation we call it as, right? So this is pointwise linear addition we have used. Now I will use pointwise operation respect to scalar multiplication. Therefore, alpha f operated on t of x is defined as alpha of f of t of x. Similarly, here it is beta dot g of t of x. I'll write the reason again. Alpha s operated on x is alpha into s of x. This is alpha into s of pointwise addition and pointwise scalar multiplication, right? Now let us come to the next step. Alpha into f of t of x, beta into g of t of x. Now look at these steps, these elements. F of t of x, according to definition, this is t star f operated on x, right? Similarly, this is t star g operated on x. T star f operated on x. Okay. Now, let us use the scalar multiplication in a reverse manner. Alpha into s of x, I will write alpha s operated on. Same definition used in the reverse manner. Therefore, this is alpha t star f operated on x. Similarly, here we can write beta t star g operated on x. Now, we will use addition in a reverse manner. S of x plus t of x, we can write s plus t operated on x. Therefore, this is alpha t star f plus beta t star g combinedly operated on x. Combinedly operated on x. Now, here I can write alpha t star of x operated on this. Now here to the left we have started with t star operated on alpha f plus beta g, whole thing operated on x. Now here since x is arbitrary, we can equate the functionals on both the sides. Equating the functionals, we got it as t star alpha f plus beta g equal to alpha t star f plus beta T star G. Okay, hence it is the proof of linearity of the conjugate operator. Next step we will go for proving continuity of the conjugate operator. Point number 2 I will write to prove that T star is continuous. T star is continuous, as we have proved already it is linear, therefore it is sufficient for me to prove it is bounded. Okay, it is enough to prove. It is enough to prove that T star is bounded. Okay, now let us start. In order to prove T star is bounded, I should start with the operator norm definition to check the norm value of an operator T star. Once the norm value for T star, we will get it as bounded by some positive constant, then linearity will hold. Then consider by definition of operator norm T star is equal to supremum. How should I write? Norm T star operated on F provided norm F is less than or equals to 1, F in N star. F in N star. This is the definition. But we know there is no meaning for norm T star F until and unless if we operate it on a vector. Therefore, this itself is a functional. Therefore, for this also we have to use the same definition of operator now. Therefore, this itself again in the supremum side it is supremum. Therefore, instead of considering twice supremum, we will just use the definition by operating this on a vector Ex. Therefore, this is norm of T star F operated on Ex. How many conditions then? Norm F less than or equals to 1. Norm X is less than or equals to 1. F in N star and X in N. Okay, understood? Why we have written like this? I'll write the reason by the red pen here. Norm T star of F itself is a functional and is defined with the help of supremum norm. That is norm T star of F operated on X on the condition norm X is less than or equals to 1 and X in N. Therefore, both the supremum values we have combined in 1 because finally we are interested in the suprema itself. Now look at this statement we have obtained. Supremum, big statement. Norm T star F operated on X, norm F less than or equals to 1, norm X less than or equals to N, F in N star, X in N. Now let us make use of the definition. Definition tells us that norm T star F operated on X is F of T of X. F of T of X. No doubt we know that this is a scalar value because this is a functional. Therefore, instead of norm, I should write a modulus simply. I'll just undo. Okay, here I'll write modulus. Why? Because F of T of X is a scalar value and we know for scalars modulus will act as a norm. Rest of the things I'll keep as it is. Right? Therefore, F of T of X. F is a functional, we know. If it is a functional, this is bounded. If it is bounded, one can write nor F of T of X. Here, if it is bounded, F of T of X is less equal by norm F into norm of T of X. By the definition, why? F is bounded. Why F is bounded? Because F is a member of N star. Bounded linear transformations, right? Therefore, F of T of X is less equal by norm F into norm of. Therefore, this equality changes to an inequality with a suprema, and here we will write this is norm F into norm of T of X provided norm F less than or equals to 1, norm X less than or equals to 1, F in N star, X in N. F in N star, X in N. Okay. Now let us put the value. Norm F less than or equals to 1 here. We have already inequality. Therefore, the inequality changes. Now T is also bounded operator. Na? If T is bounded operator, what does it mean? I can write this as norm F into norm T into norm of x, provided the rest things as it is. Reason t is bounded. Reason t is bounded. Therefore, let us put both the values. Norm f is less than or equals to 1. Norm x is less than or equals to 1. Therefore, here you will replace both the values by 1, 1 respectively. Inequality we have already less equal. Therefore, this is supremum. Norm t. Suprema is running on f and x. Suprema is running on f and x, and both the values we are replacing by norm f less than or equals to 1. Norm x is less than or equals to 1. Therefore, here there is no need to write suprema. This is norm t. We have started with norm t star and we have proved that this is less equal by norm of t. This is less equal by norm of t. Therefore, I'll call just this as by inequality number 1. Therefore, may I say norm t star. Here one can write as t is bounded. As t is bounded, norm t star is less than or equals to norm t. One can say that t star is also bounded. T star is bounded, T star is continuous, will give me T star is continuous. T star is continuous. Hence, we have proved that the mapping T star is continuous linear transformation. Continuous linear transformation. Hence, T star will be a member of B of N star. First step we have completed. Now in the second step, we want to prove that the mapping Bn to Bn star, which take an operator T to a conjugate operator, is a isometric isomorphism. But before going to prove the mapping is isometric isomorphism, one can go for finding the norm value of an operator. Therefore, let me write in the step number 2 to find the norm value, or directly I'll write norm T is equals to norm of T star. This is the aim in order to prove the next step, right? Now to prove this, we are going to take the help of consequence of the Banach theorem. Therefore, by consequence number 1 of a Hahn-Banach theorem, by consequence 1 of HB theorem, Hahn-Banach, I'll write in short, by HB theorem, for a non-zero vector, for a non-zero vector x in n, there exists a functional f in n star such that, what such that? Norm f is equal to 1 and f of t of x is equal to norm of t of x. Actually, in the original statement, this is f of x is equal to norm of x, but t is a mapping we have defined from n to n. Therefore, for every x in n, t of x is again in n. Therefore, we have started with x in, instead of t of x, instead of x we have taken t of x. Okay, so let us just start with the operator norm definition, considering norm t is equal to supremum. We will make use of the third statement of operator norm. Norm of t of x upon norm of x, provided x is non-zero. X is non-zero. But just now we have seen by the consequence, norm t of x is equals to f of t of x. I'll keep it in the modulus. So this is f of t of x upon norm of x, provided x is not equals to 0. But f of t of x we have already seen by the definition of conjugate operator. This is t star f operated on x. Let me put it in the norm. Okay, check. Now we are in the norm. Okay, therefore this is for x not equals to 0. Reason by definition of conjugate operator, right? Therefore, by definition of conjugate operator, now here I want to separate this because knowing t star is bounded now. Therefore, I'll write this is supremum norm t star f into norm of x. Okay, because f is already bounded, t star f is also, to combine it will be bounded. X is not equals to 0. Therefore, this norm x we can cancel. Norm x, here I forgot one thing. Whenever we are introducing f of t of x, here we should write norm f is equals to 1. Here also norm f is equals to 1. By the first definition, we can say norm f is equal to 1. Okay. Now cancelling norm x, this gives us supremum norm t star f provided. Now there is no need to write x because x we have cancelled, therefore provided norm f is equal to 1. Look at the definition. We have obtained suprema t star f, norm f is equals to 1. Therefore this is nothing but the definition of norm of t star. We have started with norm of t. Okay, let me call this as statement number 3. Previously I don't know whether I given a number or not. Yeah, I have given number 1. Norm t star is less than norm t 1. Now norm t less than norm t star number 3. Therefore, from 1 and 3, we have obtained norm values of both the operators are equal. Norm values of both the operators are equal. Okay, here we will stop for today. In the next lecture, we will prove the remaining 2-3 points. That is, mapping is isometric, isomorphism reverses the product, preserves the identity transformation. I hope you have understood the conjugate operator in detail. Thanks for watching today's lecture. Thank you.